fellas.
No, sit down, please. Thank you, sir.
Sit down.
When?
Down.
Sir,
You got it?
can you sit down? Thank you so much.
This is not an auto pen, by the way. Which is a big scandal. If that were a Republican, it would really be a big scandal. But it is one of the great scandals of our time. Thank you very much, everybody.
President Trump signing that landmark cryptocurrency bill right now. Let's go ahead and listen in.
You got it?
Can you sit down? Thank you so much.
This is not an auto pen, by the way. Which is a big scandal. If that were a Republican, it would really be a big scandal. But it is one of the great scandals of our time. Thank you very much, everybody.
All right, President Trump has now signed that landmark cryptocurrency bill, the so-called Genius Act, passed the House with some bipartisan support less than 24 hours ago. Now, the first ever crypto legislation has been passed by Congress, seen as a major win for the industry, an issue President Trump has campaigned hard for, also made a lot of money off of. So we'll talk about what this means for the future, our financial markets, clearly the businesses the president now involved with, and just how cryptocurrency can play into our daily lives going forward.
Welcome back. The House today expected to vote again on landmark cryptocurrency bills after failing to advance them to the debate stage yesterday. President Trump met with a number of holdouts last night, telling Truth Social and writing this: after a short discussion, they have all agreed to vote tomorrow morning in favor of the rule. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, was at the meeting via telephone and looks forward to taking the vote as early as possible. The Clarity Act, the Genius Act, and the Anti-Central Bank Digital Currency Surveillance State Act all aim to create a more structured and transparent digital market. Joining me now is South Carolina Senator Tim Scott. He is chairman of the Senate Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs Committee. Mr. Chairman, great to see you this morning. Thank you so much for being here.
Good morning, Maria. Thanks for having me.
I want to get your take on what's going on in the House and why the House does not want to see these bills tied to what the Senate has put out.
Well, let's first start with the fact that President Trump might be the greatest closer in American history. He keeps pulling rabbits out the hat. It is fantastic. And why is it so important? This is going to be the crypto capital of the world. America will be the crypto capital of the world, which means prices will go down, access will go up. This is important for us to get both the Genius Act and Clarity done, because first, Genius Act is the first step forward in this new crypto capital. The second piece, market structure, has to happen, and our guiding principles coming forward by the end of this week.
Yeah, I mean, one holdout appears to be that the Senate stablecoin legislation, the bill, does not include a ban on the Federal Reserve issuing a central bank cryptocurrency. The House included that in their version. Now, we don't expect the Federal Reserve to move to actually issue a digital dollar. But what about that? People are worried about the Federal Reserve coming out with this central bank cryptocurrency and using it as a surveillance tool like China does.
Yes. One of the things that we said in Genius Act, and we have to give a lot of credit to Bill Hagerty on working on this legislation. The Genius Act simply says that nothing in this bill actually expands the authority at the Federal Reserve. So they do not have expansive authority. They cannot go in that direction. So we wanted to make sure that it was crystal clear. The House wants to double down and do it again. I get that. That's not a bad move at all. But let's be clear. The Genius Act already speaks to not allowing the Federal Reserve to expand their authority. And finally, let me just say this, Maria. The Federal Reserve, they should get back to calling balls and strikes and doing their job as an umpire. Watching the Fed be politicized under President Biden and then, frankly, stepping away from all things common sense like lowering interest rates under President Trump, they should get back to doing their jobs.
Bo Hines joins us now from the White House. He is the executive director of the President's Council of Advisors on Digital Assets, more commonly known as the Crypto Council. Bo, I know this is a huge day for you, so thanks so much for spending a little bit of it with us.
No, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
So can you just explain what this law does in practice, especially when it comes to offering more protections for consumers who either invest in crypto or want to, but they're not sure?
Sure, yeah. So this is landmark legislation that overhauls the entire financial system. It creates new payment rails. For U.S. consumers, these rails will be much more transparent, more efficient, more cost-effective. So a stablecoin is literally a digital dollar that's backed by a real dollar in a bank account somewhere else. And so what we have here is, we're pushing U.S. dollars globally. It gives others in different parts of the world the opportunity to have dollar-backed stablecoins in the account. It keeps their money secure and safe. For these stablecoin issuers now, they have to be one-to-one backed. They have to prove they're one-to-one backed in an audit. So we have now full transparency of what they're doing. We're onshoring a lot of the folks that were engaged in this space in the beginning. But, I can't overstate how big of a deal this is. This lays the groundwork for tokenization of public securities. It revolutionizes our financial system.
And Bill, obviously, with all things that have to do with new technology like this, it is a race, a competition. Does the Genius Act do anything to make sure that U.S. stablecoin issuers are going to be the gold standard and that world leaders, recognize this in some way?
Well, even the stablecoin issuers that are offshore now fall under this regulatory regime, which is why this is so huge. Look, the most sought-after thing in the world is the U.S. dollar. They're injecting that into foreign economies, and this secures U.S. dollar global dominance for decades to come. One of the stablecoin issuers that's offshore is going to be the fourth largest purchaser of U.S. treasuries, including all countries this year. That's a remarkable statistic. So now we're not relying on foreign actors any longer just buying U.S. debt. You're going to have private enterprise doing the same thing. But, who stands to benefit from this is the American people, the American consumer. This technology is revolutionizing the financial system in really tremendous ways, and a lot of what's happening in the crypto space is propelling that forward. So, this is an industry that has been broadly beaten down and kicked down over the course of the last decade. They were victims of policymaking through prosecution and persecution, and now we have a president that recognizes their legitimacy. He stepped up in a huge way to lead the charge on this. And also, I'd be remiss not to thank our brilliant AI and crypto czar, David Sachs. He's done a phenomenal job. He's been the guiding star. This is just fantastic bipartisan work. Over 300 votes in the House for this piece of legislation.
Yeah. Well, on that note about the president's enthusiasm, of course, there are also concerns from Democrats, from others, watchdog groups, that, the president and his family stand to make a whole lot of money here, because even though the provision in the bill, there is one that prohibits any member of Congress or senior executive branch official from issuing a payment stablecoin product during their time in public service, that does not extend to the president or the vice president, for that matter. Why not?
Well, look, the president's family has the right to engage in this space like anyone else. They're private citizens. His interest here is controlled in a blind trust. They're great business people. The president obviously is a phenomenal business person. So are his sons. If they weren't engaged in this emerging technological space, then they probably wouldn't be great business people, to be honest with you, because this is where everything is happening. And they have every right to do that. Look, Democrats weren't that concerned about it because, I have right here the vote total from the cloakroom, and we have, let's see, over 102 Democratic votes for this piece of legislation. So, we feel good about where we are. We're going to continue. We're going to continue to push forward on the crypto agenda, and we're going to get market structure done next.
Let's not get distracted by the headlines. Trump just signed the Genius Act into law, the first federal regulation of stablecoins, and the media is calling it historic. But scratch the surface and you'll find this isn't just a financial policy, it's a well-crafted power move that opens the door for elite control over the future of digital money. Sure, the bill includes requirements like one-to-one reserves, independent audits, and reporting standards for stablecoin issuers. But while it talks about transparency and consumer safety, it quietly shields the very people who hold the most power from scrutiny, from accountability, and from the rules everyone else has to follow. Take the ethics clause. The law bans members of Congress and senior federal officials from launching stablecoin projects while in office. That sounds good until you see the fine print. The rule does not apply to the president or vice president. That's right. Trump, who has crypto-linked interests and a pro-crypto advisory team, signed a law that he himself is exempt from. It's hard to call that anything other than self-serving. Now let's talk strategy. By pulling crypto further into the federal framework and encouraging stablecoin issuer 7 offshore firms to operate under U.S. law, this bill creates a new class of private actors with government-blessed influence. These issuers will be buying up U.S. treasuries, helping stabilize debt markets, and embedding themselves deep into national finance. That's not innovation, it's consolidation. It's Wall Street 2.0, with fewer rules and flashier logos. And while Trump's team sells this as economic freedom, it's really about redefining control. The Fed is blocked from issuing a digital dollar, but private companies, they're free to issue their own with far less oversight. So the anti-surveillance talking point collapses when the tools are handed to corporations instead. Even some Republicans aren't buying it. Marjorie Taylor Greene warned this bill opens the door to long-term surveillance and elite overreach. Democrats like Maxine Waters have raised conflict of interest concerns, especially since the president and his family are allowed to benefit from a law they crafted. But the bill still passed with over 300 House votes. That wasn't compromise, it was calculation. Trump leveraged his platform, lobbied holdouts, and turned a regulatory win into a campaign headline. Meanwhile, watchdog groups sounded alarms, but no one with power stopped to listen, and the media? Mostly silent. Too many outlets are treating this like a tech breakthrough, ignoring the real question, who wins? Because what the Genius Act really does is create a new financial class zone that exists somewhere between private industry and public policy, free to profit while shielded from public accountability. And Trump just handed them the keys. So let's not pretend this is just about crypto. It's about precedent. It's about rewriting the rules of money and governance. And it's about a former president positioning himself to benefit directly from a law no one can hold him accountable to. That should concern everyone. So what do you think? Is the Genius Act a necessary step toward regulating a chaotic marketer, a Trojan horse for unchecked influence? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like if you believe real reform should apply to everyone. And share this video if you're done watching billionaires write the rules and then walk away richer.